Welcome to Python series for beginners by NetSet OS. Today in this video, we will discuss about recursion. So here, recursion we will take from very basic level and by step, we will take it to the advanced level. First of all, I want to add recursion is a very wide concept and it is not language specific. So let's get started. First of all, we should know what is recursion. Recursion is calling a function within a function. So let's print a sequence of number using recursion and then we will see how it actually works here. So for this, we have to define a function by def and here we will take func with num, which is a variable over here. And here I'll define func num minus 1. So here you can see we have defined a function within a function. That is recursion over here. So after this, I'll write here a print statement, print num, and I need to call this function over here. So I'll write func and here I'll give numerical value as 3. So when I run this, I'm getting an error which is asking me previous line repeated 996 more times. Maximum recursion depth exceeded. This happened because we haven't defined any base condition or a terminating condition. As you can see here, if we have defined f3 over here, it will go to num minus 1, which is f2, then f1, then f0, and then 2 minus values. It won't be stopping anytime. So here I'll give a terminating condition. So I'll say if num is greater than equal to 1. So when I run here, it will print 1, 2, 3. Now let's analyze how this recursion works. So we will go to open board where I have copied this function. Well, there are various ways to analyze recursion. Here we will use tree method as size of program is very small, just 2 lines. Otherwise, we would have used only stack method. So let's see how tree method works. First of all, we are taking func num. So here by func3, we will call this function. So for this, I'll write func3 first and then is 3 is greater than equal to 1? Yes. So it will enter to this if condition and where it is asking me func num minus 1. That means 3 minus 1 is func 2. And on the other hand, it is saying print num. So here I'll write P3. Now here it will go to func2. It will ask 2 is greater than equal to 1. Yes. So it will enter to this if condition. And here it will say func num 2 minus 1 is 1. And it will print 2. Then again it will enter to this func1 and here it will ask if 1 is greater than equal to 1. Yes. So it will enter to this if condition and here it will write func 1 minus 1 is 0. And on the other hand, it will say print 1. Now it will go to func 0. Now again it will ask 0 is greater than equal to 1. No. So here it will come out of this if condition. So here it will stop. It is a terminating condition over here. So coming to recursive calls, how many recursive calls are there here? For func3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So for if we have 3 calls, the recursive calls will be 4. Now if I'll ask how many recursive calls for just for func2. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3. So for 2, it is 3. For 1, 1 and 2. So we can see if we have num calls, it will be n plus 1 calls. So recursive calls are n plus 1. Let's see how this recursion works and what will be the output over here. So in order to analyze this, we need a stack here. So let's draw a stack. So stack works on first in, last out. We have separate playlist for data structure and algo also. If you want to visit and want to study a elaborative way, you can study over there also. So here all the recursive calls will be pushed to stack. Whenever I visit this recursive call, it will get pushed to the stack. So here we will traverse the tree from top to bottom and left to right. Please remember this. Whenever we will traverse the tree or we will visit the tree, we will be visiting here from top to bottom and left to right. So let's go. Here, when I'm going to func3, it will enter here with F3 because it is pushing this recursive call to the stack. So I'm going top to bottom. Here, there is a recursive call. It will get pushed to the stack with F2. Instead of func, I'm writing F. When I'm going to again a recursive call, here it will get again pushed to the stack. Then we will go here for F0. It will push to the stack again. Now, while returning back, whenever I visit this recursive call for the last time, I will pop that recursive call from the stack. So here, this is the last time in func0. I'll pop it up from the stack. Then I'll go func1 and here I'll go to print1 as it is going from left to right. Now it is saying print 1. So I'll write here for printing 1. Then it will go to func1 as it is a last time to this recursive call. It will pop it from the stack. Then we will go to func2. We will go just step by step over here. Then we will go to P2 and here for the last time, so it will print 2. Then recursive call func2, it will pop func2 from the stack. And then func3 and it is asking for print over here. So here we will print 3. Then we will go to func3 for the last time. It will pop func3 from stack. So this is the internal working how recursive call works. As here also it is printing 1, 2, 3. As we can see in our program also it was printing 1, 2, 3. So let's understand what will be the space complexity over here. Recursive call function. And now we'll be discussing about space complexity of this function call. So here space complexity can be analyzed by depth of stack. Here every stack record occupies, let's say, m cells. So how many m cells required for the whole? It totally depends on the number of recursive call. As we have calculated in our last video, if input is n, our recursive calls will be n plus 1. So for every n plus recursive call, it will be going to take m cells. So here, if we'll calculate the space complexity, it will be order of mn. Since m is a constant, we can ignore it and it will be order of n. So space complexity increases linearly with depth or height of stack. After this space complexity, we will discuss time complexity for this recursive call. So for funcnum, time will be taken as Tn, and here we are operating funcnum minus 1. It will take Tn minus 1, and for the print like statements, we can take a constant time. For the timing, will take plus 1. This is for num greater than equal to 1. So for num we are taking n. So here n greater than equal to 1. There is a base condition also where we will stop. So here for n is equal to 0, we will take 1. Now we will be using back substitution method. So here Tn minus 1 plus 1 is equal to Tn. I'm writing again. So if I'll write Tn minus 1 instead of n, I can write Tn minus 2 plus 1. Then again Tn minus 2 is equal to Tn minus 3 plus 1. I can write like this here. Now we'll be using back substitution method. As instead of Tn minus 1, I can write Tn minus 2 plus 1. I'll substitute this in first equation. So instead of this Tn, I'll write Tn minus 2 plus 1 as I have substituted second in first equation. So here Tn minus 2 plus 2 it will be. Instead of n minus 2, I can write Tn minus 3 plus 1. So similarly, I'll do the same here. Instead of Tn minus 2, I'm writing Tn minus 3 plus 1 and the rest plus 2. So this will be Tn minus 3 plus 3. So for kth iteration, I'll take Tn minus k plus k. As a halt condition is n is equal to 0. So for making this part as 0, I need to do k is equal to n. So when I write here Tn minus n plus n, this will be T0 will be 1. So this will be order of n. So here our space complexity and time complexity both are order of n. Here we will discuss recursion part 2. As I told you, I'll take you from step 1 step by step to the advanced level. So let's see with bigger example. In the last video we discussed about just one recursive call. Now we will start with two recursive call. So here first I'll start with defining the function. So here I'll define def func2 this time and n in parameters. First I need to give a terminating condition, which is if n is greater than equal to 1, and then func2 n minus 1. I'll print n here and then I'll call func2 n minus 1. Earlier we had just one recursive call. We have seen how it will work internally. Now we will see the working of two function calls, how recursive call works here actually. So we will call this function by func2 and here also I'll give 3. So when I print this, I got a different sequence which is larger than before. So let's see how it works. So I have copied this function from the PyCharm. Now I can see there is a halt condition and there are 3 lines over here. So we can use tree method here also, as we did in last video. We have made tree, then we made a stack, and as per stack depth, we had calculated all space complexity, recursive calls, time complexity. So let's start here. So here I'll take func 3. I'll start with n is equal to 3. As there are 3 branches of a tree, first is for one recursive call, then a print statement, and then a recursive call. So here I'll write func. First you need to take care whether 3 is greater than equal to 1. This is a halt condition, or we can say a terminating condition. 3 is greater than 1, yes, so it will go to these 3 lines inside a if condition. So here I'll write func 3 minus 1 is 2. Then a print statement. So here I'll write print 3 and again f2. Instead of func I'm writing f. Then It has again 3 branches where 2 is greater than equal to 1. Yes. So here I'll write f 2 minus 1 is 1. Then a print statement which is 2 and again f1. Now again it will ask f1 is greater than equal to 1. Yes. So it will enter to this if condition and here we will write f0. Then a print statement and again f0. Now similarly it will work for f1 here also. 1 is greater than equal to 1. So here f0. Print 1 and again f0. Here I stopped because 0 is greater than equal to 1. Here it is failing this condition, so it won't be entering to this 3 lines. So here this is a terminating condition. Now here again we have a recursive call f2. So here also it will work similarly as it worked in the left side. So here I'll make 3 branches. 2 is greater than 1. So it will enter to these 3 lines inside a if condition. So f2 minus 1 is f1. Print 2. Then f1. Then again it will come here f1. 1 is greater than equal to 1. It is equal to 1. So here it will enter f0. Print 1. f0. And similarly it will work for here also. f0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Print 1 and f0. Now let's see how recursive actually works here. So we will go from left to right and top to bottom, as I told you in the last video also. So here we will start with top, which is func3 and it is a recursive call, and we will make a stack. So this is func3, which is a recursive call. Whenever we have a recursive call for the first time, it will push to the stack. So here I'll write f3, which is a func3 only. Instead of func, I'm writing f. Now we will go from top to bottom. We have func2, which is for the first time. So it will enter into the, or rather it will push to the stack. Then it will come downwards, top to bottom. F1 for the first time, it will push into the stack. Then again a recursive call, F0 for the first time. So it will push to the stack. Now it will go again. Now this is the last time it is visiting this F0. I told you for the first time it will push to the stack, and when it will visit for the last time, it will pop up from the stack. So it is coming for the last time F0. So here I'll just pop it up, and then we will go to F1, then print 1, which is saying to print 1. So I'll here print 1. Then we will go to F1, F0 for the first time. So here I'll write F0 as it is pushing to the stack. Now we will go for the last time. It will pop up from the stack. Then again we will go to F1. For the last time it is visiting. So here it will pop up from the stack. Then we will go to func2. Here we will go to print2. Then here it will print 2. Then we will go to again, as it is going left to right, step by step. So we will go slowly left to right. So here we have F1 for the first time. So here it will push into the stack. Then we will go top to bottom, F0, it will push into the stack. Then here it will go, it is visiting last time to the F0. So it will pull out from the stack. Then we will go F1, then we will print 1. Then here we will go and F0 for the first time we are traversing here. So here I'll write F0. Then again for the last time it will pull out from the stack. Then F1 for the last time it will pull out from the stack, and then func2 for the last time, so it will pull out from the stack. So here we have covered all the left part. Now we will work from left to right. So we will go to the middle part. It is asking to print 3. So we have printed 3 over here. Then we will go to right part, func2, which is F2. It is coming for the first time. So here it will push to the stack. Then it will go and top to bottom. It is visiting F1 for the first time. So here it will push to the stack. Then it will go top to bottom, F0 for the first time. I'll write F0 into the stack. Then it will come for the last time, F0. It will again pull off from the stack. Then we will go to F1. Then it is asking to print 1. So here we will print 1. F1, F0 for the first time. So here we will push into the stack. Then here we will come for the last time. It will pull out from the stack. F1 for the last time. We will pull out from the stack. Then we will go here. It is asking to print 2. So we will print 2 over here. Then we will go to F1. F1 for the first time. So it will enter into the stack. Then F0 for the first time. Here I'll write F0. Then again for the last time. So it will pull out from the stack. Then it is asking to print 1. So here we have printed 1. Then it will go to F0. F0 for the first time. Then again for the last time. So it will pull out from the stack. Then we will go to F1. F1 for the last time. So it will pull out from the stack. Then F2 for the last time. We will pull out from the stack. And then F3 we will pull out from the stack. So here we got 1 2 1 3 1 2 1. So let's check what we got in our program. We got the same answer 1 2 1 3 1 2 1 as we got here 1 2 1 3 1 2 1. Now we will see how many number of functions are called. For func3, how many times it is called? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 and this is 15. So for func3 it is 15 calls. Let's see for func2. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So it is for 7. And for F1 it is 1 2 and 3. So if we calculate this, or we just write in a way, we can write this by 2 to the power 3 plus 1 minus 1. So here 2 to the power 4 is 16 minus 1. And if we write here in a sorted way, 2 to the power 2 plus 1 minus 1, 2 to the power 1 plus 1 minus 1. So we can also write, if there are n calls, we can write 2 to the power n plus 1. So these are the recursive calls for a function. In this video, we will discuss about Fibonacci. Before starting Fibonacci, first I need to tell you that I have explained factorial by recursion along with factorial by loop. If you face any problem in factorial, just have a look there. So let's start with Fibonacci. First, we need to know what is Fibonacci. Well, Fibonacci is all about this recurrence relation where we have a base condition. If n is equal to 0 or 1, then it will return n. If n is greater than 1, that is if n starts with 2, then we will sum up the last two elements. For example, let's say first two elements are 0, 1. Then the upcoming element will be sum of last two elements. That is 0 plus 1 is 1. Again 1 plus 1 is 2. Then last two elements are 1 and 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8, and so on. So if we'll take A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 1, the third element, which is C, will be A plus B. After that, we will update A and then B. So let's understand this by executing in our program. Here I have opened a file with Fibonacci underscore iterative. As we can solve this problem by two ways. First is iterative and second one is recursive. Let's see iterative first. For this, we need to define a function. So we will do that by def fib, and here I'll give n in parameters. First, we need to give a base condition or a terminating condition. So I'll give if n is smaller than equal to 1, return n. Else, here I'll give a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1, which is our initial two numbers. Then I'll apply a for loop for I in range from 2 to n, that means n plus 1. We will take here n plus 1 as last number is always excluded. So here we will take a variable c is equal to a plus b. C is a variable which will calculate sum of a and b, and c will store the value of previous two elements. Now we need to update a and b, which is a is equal to b and b is equal to c. So here A will store the value of B, B will store the value of C, and at last we will return C. Now the next step is we will ask the user to enter number, which will be, let's say, num is equal to int input, enter the number. Then we will call the function by print fib num. Now we will run the program. It's asking for number. I'll give 5, and here we got 5. Now let's see how we got 5 over here. As A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 1, we have given the initial numbers. So here 0, 1, 0 plus 1 was 1, 1 plus 1 was 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. Now let's see the other method, that is Fibonacci by recursion. I have created the other file with the name Fibonacci underscore recursion. Now we will start with def fib and here n. Now firstly I need to give a base condition as I have given for iterative. So if n is smaller than equal to 1, it will be return n. Else it will be return fib n minus 1 plus fib n minus 2. Now let's call this function. Num is equal to int input, enter the number. We have typecasted it in int because we want a numerical value. This portion I have also covered in standard input and output. If you have any problem, you can visit there. Now we need to print fib num. So when I run this program, it is asking me to enter the number. I'll give 5. I got 5. Now let's see the internal working, how it works over here. I have copied this code. Now let's see how it works. This is our base condition. This is a point where recursion stops. So here I'll take f of 5. Instead of fib, I'm taking f5. Here it is asking, is 5 is smaller than equal to 1? No. So it will execute this statement. So here it will go f n minus 1 is 4. And the second one is f 5 minus 2 is 3. Here this plus sign I'll take afterwards. First, let's distribute it. After this, 4 is 4 smaller than equal to 1. So again, it will go to else part. 4 minus 1 is 3. So 3, and here again F2. Now again it will check 3 is smaller than equal to 1. No. So here it will go F2 and this will be F1. Now for 2 it will check whether 2 is smaller than equal to 1. No. So here it will go F1 and here F0. As internally here there is a plus sign. So I'm just giving it a plus sign. Now here we have checked for 1. 1 is our terminating condition. This is a point where our recursion stops. So for 1 is equal to 1, so it won't be going to this else part. It will return n. So here it will return 1, and for 0 it will return 0. So 1 plus 0 is 1. So here it will go to F2 as 1. For F1 it is 1, as we have given n is equal to 1, it will be returning 1. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. For F2 it was 1. So here I'll write 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So to F4 it will go 3. For F3 we have defined here 2. So I'll just copy this 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. So directly I got F5 is equal to 5. We have seen that for small number it is working well. Now let's see for large number. Let's say for 40. It is giving 9-digit number. Let's check for recursion. I'll give 40. It's taking time. It's still executing. I'm waiting. And it's still executing. Finally, our wait is over and we got the result here. So we have seen recursion is taking more time to calculate as compared to iterative. It is because when we come to recursion analysis part, here if I expand this, F3 is breaking in F2, F1, F1 is breaking into F1, F0, and similarly with F2, here F1 is and F0. So here if we see closely, F2 is calculated multiple times. So here it is calculated each time. That is the reason it is taking more time here. But we can resolve this by memoization. So what is memoization? Memoization is providing the memory to the function calls, which speeds up the program and saves our time. Here we will create an array to remember the values which are repeated instead of calculating it again and again. We will store it at one place of array and will fetch the value from there when needed. So let's implement this memoization in Fibonacci sequence. So firstly, we will create an array in which all values will be initialized as -1. So I'll give air is equal to -1 into, let's say, 100. Then I'll go to else part and here I'll give a if condition. If air n is not equal to -1, it will return air n. Otherwise, air n will be storing the Fibonacci n-1 plus Fibonacci n-2, and here it will return this array. So when I run this and will give the same value 40. Let's see how much time will it take. It has calculated so quickly. So in our function call, I'll give fib of 5. So as per our first statement, I'll make an array which has the value of -1. Index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we are using this array to store the value which are repeated again and again. So here first value is f1, which is 1, f0, 0 as per our base condition over here. Now for calculating f2, here we will take 1 plus 0 is 1. So instead of minus 1, I'll write here 1. So ARR2 will store the value 1 in this array. Now for coming to F3, here we have 1 which is already stored here, and for F1 it has 1, and here 1 plus 1 will be 2. So instead of minus 1, it will store here 2. Now coming to F4, here it will fetch from F3 instead of calculating it again. Here it will take F3 value as F2 over here and F2 from this 1 value. So here it will calculate 2 plus 1 to 3. So here instead of calculating F4 again, it will store F4 value as 3. Then coming to F5, it will take the help of this array for F3 as 2 and F4 value as 3, and it will calculate the value from this array 3 plus 2 to 5. Now when we comes to this F3, F2, F1, instead of calculating it again and again, here it will take the help of this array and will calculate from this and will save time as compared to recursion. So here memoization comes into existence. We will solve another problem of recursion where we have been given two positive integers, which is x and n, and we have to calculate x to the power n. Here x to the power n is nothing but n times x. That means x is multiplied by itself. So let's see how we can solve it recursively. Here I have opened a file with recur underscore power. First of all, I'll make a function with power underscore recursion. I'll write just recurse and I'll give two variables over here, x and n, as I have to calculate x to the power of n. So for this, first we should have a base condition. Base condition is one where our program terminates. So here I'll write if n is equal to 0, it will be returning 1. Otherwise, it will have x into x to the power n minus 1. For example, if I have taken x to the power of 6, it will take x into x to the power of 5. So here we will take x into and we will decrease this 6 to 5. So this is our recurrence relation. So let's write our program. First I'll give a base condition which will be if n is equal to 0, it will return 1, else it will return x into po. Po is a power of x to the power n minus 1. Then I'll call this function and here I have to print this. So I'll write p is equal to power recurse and here I'll give, let's say, 7 to the power 2 and I'll write here print p. So when I run this, I got 49 because 7 to the power 2 is 49. Now let's see 7 to the power 9. It will give its answer respectively. Now let's see how it is working internally. So this is the code which we have written now. Now let's take x to the power of 6. So first x is this and n is power. So if n is equal to 0, return 1 is our base condition. Now we will check whether n is equal to 0. No. So here it will go to else part and it will go to return x into x to the power of n minus 1. That means here it will go to x to the power 5. Then again it will go and check whether 5 is equal to 0. No. Then again it will go to else part, and here it will go to x to the power of 4. Then again it will check n is equal to 0. No. So here it will go to x to the power 3. Similarly, again x to the power 2, as 3 is not equal to 0. Then x to the power 1. Then it will go to x to the power 0. Now n is equal to 0. It will return 1 over here. So here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 recursive calls. So if we calculate time complexity will be proportional to n, and here it will be order of n. As we had x to the power 6 and 6 recursive calls, so here we will have time complexity as order to the power of n. Let's see more efficient way to solve this problem. So for other method of solution, I'll open a new file with recur underscore power 1 and I'll hit enter. So first of all, let's know the strategy. First, we will take the base condition x to the power of n, which will be 1 for n is equal to 0. Then we will take if n is even. If n is even, it will take it as x to the power n by 2 into x to the power of n by 2. Like if we have x to the power of n, we can distribute it into two parts, n by 2 and n by 2. And rest, if n is odd, it will calculate in the same way, x into x to the power n minus 1. So now let's implement this. So for this program, I'll copy the same program and will paste it over here. I just need to add some condition. As base condition will be same, then elif n is even, so n can be even by n modulus 2 is equal to 0. In this case, it will return x to the power n by 2. That means n by 2. And here I'll save it in result res and then return res into res. Then we will give our else condition, which will be for odd, and here we will write return the same condition x to the power x n minus 1. So when I run this, I'll get the same solution as we got earlier, but we will understand why this method is better one. So here I have written this code. So let's implement as per the later code. Let's take an example x to the power of 6. Let's take somewhat bigger than this. So here I'll take x to the power of 8. As 8 is not equal to 0, it won't be going in it, and 8 is a even. So it will go to elif condition. Here it will distribute into 2, x to the power of 4, x to the power of 4. Then again 4 is a even number. It will distribute among 2, and here it will return x to the power of 2 and x to the power of 2. As 2 is even, here it will go to x to the power of 1. Similarly for these 3 as well. Then as 1 is odd, so here it will go x to the power of 0, which will return 1. So here if we discuss with respect to time complexity, it will be order of log n, which is a way lesser than order of n. So this is smarter method, which is much more efficient than earlier method. So this was all about exponential method. This video we will try to solve very famous problem, that is modular exponentiation. In previous video, we had seen a efficient smarter method to solve power exponent where we had two variable x and n. Now modular exponentiation is the remainder which we get by dividing x to the power of n with another variable. Let's denote it by m, where x, n and m are three positive integers. Let's understand this with example where we have x as 7 and n as 2. Then we will take m as 5. So when we calculate this, 7 sevens are 49 modulus 5. That means here we will get 5, 49, 9s are 45 and 4 as a remainder. So easiest approach is to calculate 7 to the power of 2 first, then mod 5. Here if we take to the power of n, it will reach to large values, apparently even for small values as well. Fortunately, we have laws of associativity, commutativity and distributivity. So we will use them to solve this. Our problem, for example, let's delete this. So if we have a into b modulus m, this we can solve through a modulus m into b modulus m and then completely modulus m. So for this, here we have this in outer, this will come first with a, then with b and then collectively after a into b modulus m. So let's understand this with example. If we have here 7, b for 3 and here I'll take m for 5. When we simply calculate, it will be 21 mod 5, which will result to 1. Now when we calculate using this right expression, I'll write RHS and LHS for this. A is equal to 7, 7 mod 5 into B is 3 mod 5 and collectively it will be mod 5. So 7 mod 5 is 2 into 3 mod 5 will be 3 and this will be collectively 5. So 3 2s are 6, mod 5 will be 1. That means LHS is equal to RHS. Now let's go to PyCharm for implementing this program. So for this, I'll make a new file over here with name recur underscore power underscore mod. Now we need to calculate x to the power of n. X to the power of n modulus m. So for this, as we understood in the last video, it can be called recursively by x into x to the power n minus 1 modulus m. So I can write here x modulus m first with first variable, then with second variable which is x to the power of n minus 1 and then collectively after modulus m. Similarly, if we have even number, we can calculate it by x n by 2 into x n by 2 modulus m. I can write x n by 2 modulus m, then the other one x n by 2 modulus m and then collectively modulus m. So this is for even number and this we got for odd number. Now this recurrence relation is same as our last video which we used to solve for x to the power of n. So let's make a program here. But before that, I should write in a proper way. So first of all, our base condition will come where if n is equal to 0, it will be 1. If n is even, it will distribute to xn by 2 and then modulus m, and here it will come modulus m in collective as it is a n2. Then comes for odd number, x modulus m, x to the power of n minus 1 modulus m, then modulus m. Now we will make a new program with this where we will write def mod underscore power, and here I'll take three variables which are x, n and then m. First we need to take base condition, as base condition is very necessary for recursive program where our program terminates. Now I'll write if n is equal to 0, return 1, elif if n is even, so here I'll write n modulus 2 is equal to 0. It will return, but before that I need to write an expression which will be stored in result is equal to po of x and n by 2, power of x and n by 2, which will be represented by po, and here it will be mod m. So here it will return res, that stand for result, then res and then collectively mod. Now we will see condition for odd number, which will be directly return x mod m into po of x n minus 1 mod m and then collectively mod m. Then I need to call this. Here it will be 7, 5, let's say 3. And I need to print the value. So I'll write p is equal to and print p. So when I run this program, I got 1. Now I'll check with smaller values also, 2. And here when I run this and when I validate this, 7 7s are 49, mod 3, it will be 1. So let's see how it works internally. Here we will take an example. Let's say x is equal to 7, n is equal to, let's take somewhat bigger, 8, and m will be 9. So when I'll calculate for 7 to the power of 8 mod 9, first it will check for n, whether n is equal to 0. No, so it will go to even number, as 8 is a even number. So here it will distribute into 2, 7 to the power 4 mod 9. Then again it will check n is equal to 4, which is an even number. Again it will go to elif, and here it will distribute to 7 to the power 2 mod 9, and here similarly for this also. Then again it will check 2 is even, so here again it will distribute into 7 to the power 1 mod 9, and similarly. Now 1 is odd, so here it will go to 7 into 7 to the power 0, then mod 9 and 7. So here you can see we have distributed the whole program into single. As it is 8, it will have just 4 recursive calls. So it will save our time and it will be order of log n. Though we will discuss this in an elaborative way, for this time complexity is order of log n. So this gives us recursive Python program to calculate x to the power n mod m. Time complexity is order of log n, which is quite efficient. If you like my content, please like my video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Drop a like.
Leave a comment.
And don't forget to subscribe.